Hello, Pan. This is my feedback to your evidence paragraph from last week. Now, just looking at it, this is your first paragraph. Before we had seen a model, and you still did quite a good job, actually. So, very good start. Uh, Now, let's just see what you've done here more specifically. In the video, you're talking about his supporting idea, and then the evidence. Sorry. And then the evidence that the speaker used. Here, as you know now, this will be part of your identification paragraph. So that will free up quite a bit of space for the evaluation. But this is in your identification paragraph. If you write something like this, that would be quite good. Now, let's look at the evaluation. First of all, you're looking at the Oracle email and then at the Civil Rights Code, section 703, right? And based on that, he's trying to say that there is a systemic bias, systemic discrimination in internship programs all across America in the tech field. And you're saying that the evidence is not sufficient. And I would agree with that. Now, because you have a lot of space, you have 200 words, you could easily say a little bit more here, right? So one of the things you could say is, why is it not enough? Well, he's making a very large claim. And to do that, for a large claim, you need a lot more evidence. And then you go on and you say what that evidence is, which is another good idea. The speaker should have included. That's a very good strategy. So when you say that it's not sufficient, the evidence, you would then list the kinds of things that he would have included. So that would be, you're saying that, what would that be? What kind of data? Here you could say this a little bit more specifically, what kind of studies, surveys, meta-analysis, whatever, that would indeed prove that a lot of these internships are discriminatory. So basically, you will have enough space to expand on this a little bit in the exam. But what you've done here is good. On the other hand, the provided evidence is relevant to the idea. Now here, again, we want to expand a little bit. Why is it relevant? His claim is that there is systemic bias, and he's showing an example of an internship program that specifically invites minorities to the exclusion of other minorities. So it links to his claim, the evidence. So in that sense, it is relevant, right? So you want to expand a little bit. Now, if you could say that it's somewhat relevant. From this perspective, it is relevant because it does indeed show bias, that internship. As far as the Civil Rights Code, in this particular case, if you wanted to dig a little bit deeper, you would actually find out that he's not really citing from the Civil Rights Code. He's actually citing from an email. It's a response written by a lawyer to a request, to a question, a request for clarification. And the question is, are interns considered to be employees? And in this long email, which the speaker quotes from, he shows an excerpt from that email, from that response to the inquiry, and he passes it off as if it were the Civil Rights Code. But actually it's just a response to a request from the lawyer about the Civil Rights Code. And that lawyer, it's a long kind of response. He describes in detail the kinds of conditions that need to be met in order for interns to be considered employees. And why is that important? For the speaker of this video, it's a key piece of evidence. Why? Because if interns are considered employees, then based on the Civil Rights Code, it would be legal to hire interns on the basis of race, gender, and any kind of other identity feature. So that indeed would prove that it's illegal. However, in this response, the lawyer does not say that interns are always considered employees. He says certain conditions need to be met, and he lists those situations. And then he lists a number of other situations in which interns are not considered employees. So his response, he doesn't say interns are employees. In fact, he says they often are not. So actually, the speaker in this video is using a response about the Civil Rights Code which does not claim the same thing that the speaker claims. Because in many situations, interns are not considered employees, so it's not illegal to hire them based on the fact that they're Latino or Native American and so forth. So the speaker is just really misusing this evidence. Or he's using something that's not relevant. So if you want to dig a little bit deeper, that's also fine. In the exam, you will have a few days. It's a take-home exam, as you know. And particularly if the speaker of the video cites a source, you want to look it up. Chase it up and see, does the source say the same thing as the speaker? And in this case, it doesn't. The lawyer says there are many different conditions that need to be met. Not in all cases are interns considered employees, but the speaker makes it look like they are in all cases. So you could say that what he's citing, first of all, is not even the legal code. It's a request to it's a response to a request, and that's not relevant because it does not establish that in all cases interns are considered employees, which would prove then the illegality of these seemingly discriminatory job advertisements, internship advertisements. So if you wanted to, you could explain this a little bit more, but that would be to dig a little bit deeper, which you can do if you want to. What you've done here, even if you didn't dig very deep, you could still expand a little bit. You could say, even if you decide to say that it's relevant, because this part indeed is relevant, the Oracle email, just say a little bit more. Why is that relevant? Because it clearly shows blah blah blah, right? It clearly shows discriminatory bias, and this is what the speaker also claims. Okay, and then finally, as far as the representativeness of the data, again, this is a good response. We're asking, to what extent are these typical examples? Are all companies discriminatory? As you're saying here, also many other programs need to be provided, right? So he needs to look at a much larger sample. So what you can say, the speaker should have included perhaps a random sample of internships to see if a lot of them are indeed discriminatory. That would make it more representative, right? So the idea is correct here. We're asking, to what extent are the examples given typical? And the Oracle internship, we are not sure that that's typical. It's probably not, because there are thousands of other internships which do not ask for specific groups to apply. So overall, you've really kind of understood it from what I can see. You know what to do, and I think you can write a good paragraph in the exam because you understand the three main categories that we're looking for. I would just say you will have the space to expand a little bit more. Next week we'll have another round of practice. There's another model coming up on Monday, so that should give you even more to work with, and I think you're in good shape. This is a very good start actually. So good luck on the exam.